I've never seen that champion. Not in this split.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to. I think that it's going to take a little bit of time for that Jace jungle to get through. It's just a little bit too good at the current moment, but still plenty of options left up. I will say the only champion Guwon has played that is available right now is the Qiyana. Do EDG want to pull the trigger on potentially getting that Qiyana? Would be really interesting to see if they take it off the board. No, they're going to choose the Poppy. Definitely could foretell at least some direction for them.
I almost wonder if they're just offering a first pick Qiyana. You know, like, do you really want to take Qiyana early? That would be the concern for me, is feeling like your jungle pool is pinched enough that you have to make a suboptimal pick in the early game. We'll see what they end up doing, though, as right now it is EDG who gets their first go, with Aphelios just taken out by NIP.
Yeah, junglers on the board, but so are mid laners. There are plenty of options available. Things like Talia and Orianna making it through. High priority picks that we have not seen a lot today, and it will be the Ori locked in for Angel. This guy was a control mage master for a long time when he was making world finals on that Suning team that we just talked about in 2020. We'll get another chance to see it, but Rumble as well, also making it through draft for the first time today. Could very well be the pickup here for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
I don't think it's a bad call. If you don't pick Rumble here, EDG are probably next rounding it just because of how powerful it can be. As much as it may not fit with exactly what NIP wanted to do coming into this game, you can see it in the delay. It's the best answer you have to Orianna right now.
I agree. I think you have to match power with power. It's the prio pick of the patch outside of Jace, in my opinion, and I think you kind of get a steal here on red side. You pair it up with that Pantheon. We talked about aggression. Here you go, Guwon. Throw the gauntlet down. You're up 1-0 for the first time. You can actually play something a little bit spicy in game number 2. We have not seen Pantheon do particularly well so far in the LPL, but this is going to be a big chance pairing up with something like the Rumble to make a pretty crazy duo for NIP to kind of deal with and push forward with in this game.
NIP, they just keep going, you know what, Dia? You thought you were going to get a nice little normal draft, and instead we're going to get aggressive. I don't mind it. I'm very happy to see it, but this Pantheon pick, I didn't have on my bingo card coming into this series. This is a new pick for Guwon in this split. And the answer of the Nico, potentially Kai'Sa would lock in a bot lane that NIP would be unable to answer in its entirety.
Yeah, I love Leaves Kai'Sa. I mean, this has always been one of the better picks that he has been on. He's already brought it out twice this year, and he's done relatively well on it. 100% win rate. They win both of those games. Pairing it up with Nico, the biggest playmaker in the meta for your playmaking support. This is what we want to see, but Care answering the challenge as well. We didn't want just a little aggression coming out of the jungle. We want full aggression on the top side. Pantheon Akali going to be one of the scarier duos, and you have a Pantheon that can generate early game resources, Rumble and Akali who can capitalize and scale into those resources, and then basically a duo carry comp on the other side with Ori Kai'Sa. This is going to be a real fun game.
Yeah, full topside draft versus full bot side draft is interesting. It is going to mean a hopefully pool pinch for somebody. I don't know if you're going to go for Zhuo or Assum, and I'm happy that we end up pivoting with the Misfortune to focus more on removing carries from what Assum can do. There is already an incredible amount of damage coming from the top side of the map, though, so Assum could just choose to play something a little bit more utility-oriented.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that come through. Again, you have such an aggressive, top side of the map that I think when you're looking at other options, even if you want to go for something like a Sivir, I think that is a potential way to get a hyper carry onto your team that isn't super committal.
Ashe Seraphine are up.
Good call. Ashe Seraphine are up. Corki is going to be the ban. It is definitely available if they want to go in that direction. The question is, how aggressive do they want to be? This is obviously not going to be the hover. Plenty of 2v2 lanes that can dominate if they want to go in that direction, like the Ashe Seraphine you mentioned, the Lucian Nami are still available. Misfortune obviously banned out, same with the Corki, but Ezreal Karma could be on the board as well. Plenty of options here.
Don't do it. Don't do it to me. All right. I'm sorry to NIP. We've got the #1 Leona hater on the broadcast. I'm gonna be dogging on this Leona.
I am so excited. We actually get a Leona today, Dia. I was really concerned it wasn't coming through, but we get it locked in. You know, I'll talk about that in just a moment. I want to round out the EDG draft real quick, and that's to say Wukong is up and available in second rotation for Xiaohao. This is one of his best champions, if not his best champion, and you get to pair that with Orianna Ball, with Shockwave on top of it, and a Nico that can engage on the backline. That's terrifying. Expect a tank on the top side here. I would be really surprised if this is not Ornn. You know, I think that is the easy lock-in, and EDG have a comp that I really love. Dia, tell me about Leona.
Now, you're gonna see it during the course of this game, but my main problem with Leona is the Eclipse. The fact that you just press a button and get a little mini Alistair ult because you just can. It's just fine with everyone that Leona's able to do that, and it costs her literally nothing. That with the Tristana actually ends up being a really nice aggressive lane. Everything else about Leona's kit is just fine. I'm okay with it. It is overloaded because she has Eclipse. That's fine. We don't need to talk about it. But the Tristana pickup here in last pick, I actually wanted to ask you about, how do you feel about a Tristana last pick? I almost said R5. How do you feel about a Tristana last pick?
It's really interesting, right? Because the idea behind this is that you're able to punish the Kai'Sa a little bit. Kai'Sa's big disadvantage is her lack of range, and Tristana wants to try and get up close and personal with you in a lot of these trading patterns. Nico as well. While she has a good early game, has plays she can be exploited, but the damage in the late game from NIP, I mean, you're talking Rumble, you're talking Pantheon, Akali, Tristana, you are not safe anywhere on the map with the amount of damage coming through from NIP, but I still have to be relatively favored towards this EDG draft. I think the Wukong engage with that Ornn on the top side is so difficult to break through if you don't have a lot of gold. I really think this Pantheon needs to be good in this game. We haven't seen it quite super consistently throughout the day be great, but Guwon's going to have a big one here.
Yeah, I want to say that while I don't think of Assum as being an incredibly flashy mechanical player, which is not to say that he's not that, he is a very good player, I don't think of him as being an incredibly flashy mechanical player. The mechanic that I am going to be looking at this game is the buffer on the rocket jump, because that can get you out of basically the entire problem that EDG are trying to throw at you, which is the Wukong Orianna Ball with the Ornn. If you can buffer the rocket jump appropriately, you're gonna be okay, which is the best thing that Assum can be.
Oh, the Leona already looking to play aggro here on the bot side. Zhuo's not wasting any time with this lane, taking a bit of poke coming down. You mentioned buffering the rocket jump. Obviously, that's going to be very important. I think another big part of Tristana's kit, that ultimate can knock back any engage that comes her way. That Wukong can get separated from the Cyclone. Cause some problems. Leap force to flash.
Losing that actually a pretty big problem, especially as NIP are going to be hitting level 2, likely a little bit faster with the inherent push that Tristana has. We'll see how the timing actually works out, but right now positioning for it already. EDG have to play a little bit further back, and we've seen this story before. Bot lane that has to play a little bit more conservatively.
Yeah, this Kai'Sa has no shot against Tristana early on in the laning phase, even with a Leona on the other side and a Nico here. You should theoretically have a ton of priority. It's going to be so difficult for Leave to feel comfortable stepping up at all in this lane as long as Zhuo doesn't completely run down the laning phase, which you can never be too sure of. Group Perseverance is always really fun to watch, but the early level 2 here will give them the pressure they need to make sure they can push this in, of course, with the Tristana. Watching the jungle pathing here, it's going to be opposite side. Wukong pathing up, Pantheon pathing down. Definitely got to watch out for Pantheon early aggression, but with NIP pushing forward, it looks like it's just going to be a pretty standard early game.
Junglers both clearing in opposite directions might warp the early game a little bit. We haven't seen a whole lot of early plays, which just is not really where a league is at right now, with the exception of our last game, level 2 Jarvan play. This time around, it'll likely just be a trade of scuttles that this turns into, and I'm noticing a quick recall from Assum on the bot side.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he picks up here. Have a decent idea of perhaps what he is looking at in terms of that early recall, but for now, just going to see some trading down onto the bot side. Just going to be that long sword coming through. He is quite behind in terms of the CS. It's getting shoved into his tower, and Trist obviously has a pretty easy time pushing out, but I'm interested to see what exactly they want to do with this Tristana. I really want to fight in the mid game, or like in the early mid game, the one item power spike with this duo on the bottom side of the map. We'll see how much setup they want to do for that, but for now, again, just going to be a pretty standard start with both junglers pathing to their strong side.
Care having to play a little bit careful, but Angel is low on mana, so has to be worried himself about how much he expends before the teleport is forced out of him. Care, I think, watched as Xiaohao walked into the jungle, but did end up walking up the lane anyways. Parukia gets spotted by Guwon, who's rotated up through the jungle to try and steal away any camps. Does place a ward, however, to see where this sneaky little Wukong is at.
Yeah, I mean, being on Vision is obviously not ideal, but both junglers are going to be pretty okay with the trades that are happening right now. Very interestingly, though, look at Xiaohao's pathing. He is very much here on the bottom side. Tristana and Leona are pretty pushed up. See how aggressive he might want to play this. He is, I believe, on Vision here, so it really just comes down to how much time does Xiaohao want to waste, but at the same time, not really losing all that much if he just chooses to perhaps scout out the area a little bit.
Yeah, Tristana push into the tower. Going to be pretty simple, and another recall comes in from Assum trying to hit a spike as soon as possible, especially with Dragon up in just about a minute. It's unlikely to be an early Dragon, unlikely to be an early First Blood, but hey, even that's still possible. Care does get a little uncomfortably low.
Yeah, this matchup's hard. Like, as a mid lane player, I can say this matchup is not easy for the Akali. It is really easy to get chunked out, and Xiaohao over the wall could make a big difference.
Oh, he's going to go for it. Invis, flash, and First Blood. That is just clean Wukong play.
Nothing simpler. I mean, you burn the flash, and obviously that's a resource, but it's super worth it. Xiaohao continuing to be the aggressor for EDG in this series and across this split. Very well played. Obviously stays out of vision just long enough to make that happen with the invisibility. And Care is set down early on in this game. Getting Angel into a good spot on this Orianna makes the comp a lot easier to play. Look at how many targets are here for ball delivery service, if you will, for that Shockwave. If Angel can get some gold, he can do a lot of damage in this one.
Yeah, staying pretty well in CS. Honestly, Care has been surviving the lane pretty well up until that point, but his teleport back actually opens the perfect window for Guwon to start thinking about this dragon. They've got bot lane push. Care has just come back to lane, and Guwon's going to go for it.
Yeah, they're not worried too much about the dragon. We see pings coming down. Xiaohao's in the mid lane again. Bot lane's going aggro.
Parukia low, but Parukia going to end up surviving. The lane gets pushed alongside this, and this is completely denying any chance of contesting Dragon. The fact that they take this so early as well does mean the ninjas in Pyjamas have an even better shot at looking at later objectives. Void Grub's still 2 minutes away, so if they play their cards right, they could get Dragon and Grubs.
Yeah, I mean, that would be massive. Obviously, it's a huge early game spike if you can start to get some of those dragons under your belt. The stats do actually matter, and Grubs are incredibly powerful in the current meta with the way that the game is set up and just how much gold you can get off of being able to split push in other lanes. You have a comp that can do really well if it has to play side through the Akali. Definitely plenty of options here as level 6s are starting to come through. Guwon not quite there because of his detour to take that first dragon, but Xiaohao has hit that level 6. Cyclone is available. The next big fight is going to be a pretty big one for both sides to determine which direction this game is headed in.
And while it's not as pivotal as it was in our OMG LNG series, we got to keep our eyes on the Grand Starfalls here as well. That could be a really big shifting point in the game if Guwon is able to get aggressive with cooldowns like that. It is a little bit different than what we've seen him play previously, but I would really like to see Guwon, of course, wishing the best for everyone, be successful on a pick that is such a different one than what he has typically gone with in terms of the teamfight utility, and be able to make picks happen with the Grand Starfall.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what can happen even from a bad game state if you're able to turn a lot of those over-aggressive plays into ones that you can punish. And that's something that Group Perseverance is not lacking, is over-aggressive plays. Certainly a team like EDG is going to be looking to stay active on the map, and utilizing that ultimate from the Pantheon can be really valuable. And really be especially valuable early on in the game to get an early pick, especially in about 30 seconds, I think, when these grubs are spawning. That's when you are really going to be looking for this Pantheon to be active alongside the Akali. If they can get one big early kill, it can become a lot easier to start really prioritizing those objectives.
Fancy feat by Zhuo does finally get hit by something, but is outputting a lot of pressure just sitting in the brush as Leona pops Eclipse, because why wouldn't you? It's free. It's so free. Care's going to hit a quick reset, however, with 12 seconds left on Void Grubs, which is again going to draw our eyes towards what is possible in the mid lane. Care did such a great job on the Ahri of keeping waves shoved in, at mitigating what Angel was able to do. Might just be able to do the same thing with the Akali, but I'm noticing him roaming towards the bot side.
And you very rarely see all this pressure coming down onto the bot side when Grubs have spawned. I think there is a bit of a concern.
Grand Starfall right into the Pop Blossom is not awesome. And Guwon ends up falling, but it is a trade of 1 for 1, even as Assum takes a huge chunk out of the tower. ZDZ is now looking for a pick up topside as Hoya does flash, but still gets hit by the knockup. Xiaohao is here, and it should turn into a kill. Hoya's actually completely accepted his fate. He uses the ult simply to clear the wave, shove it under tower, so he loses the minimum.
That is a nightmare play for NIP. Basically, everything that can go wrong there goes wrong. They're lucky that they can pull back 1 kill onto Assum on this Tristana, but Guwon dives with that Grand Starfall under the tier 1 and just dies. He takes multiple turret shots and is not able to survive. You lose the topside play because Xiaohao is free to make it. It's 2v1, and they get grubs off of that. Not really a lot to like from the play, and now Parukia is roaming mid.
Safecare is able to survive, but getting locked up. It's not looking good.
Yeah, Kair's able to get out. Yeah, I think he's safe.
I was wondering whether he was going to go back in, you know?
You can never be too sure with the Collies here in the LPL. That's part of what makes this league so exciting, but definitely a huge swing. 1k gold lead now for EDG.
The fact that we've got Zhuo roaming so much is actually... it's been quite noticeable in terms of the vision game for NIP around this river, but it's also leaving Assum alone for a little while to collect some solo XP. Gold still favoring Leave at the moment with the way that the last skirmish went, but Tristana is terrifying at any point in the game with her ability to burst you down.
Hey, you definitely don't want to give too much gold over to the Trist, but even in the play that you commit every resource to getting gold onto the Trist for, you give a kill to Kai'Sa. And I don't really feel better about the kill being on Kai'Sa than I do on Tristana if I am... Oh no, Kair!
Steps up one step too many. You could tell Angel saw him walk out and went, "I'm sorry, my brother, you are dead."
Well, it's been a rough laning phase for the Akali, who is very far behind at this point. This game is getting out of control very quickly for NIP. If they do not start to step up, this could get pretty bad pretty fast. What a great start, though, for EDG.
Yeah, this is basically everything that EDG could have asked for. It is still a relatively small lead, though, so I will caution us with... We saw EDG have a much better start compositionally with their advantage last game, and NIP still ended up taking it. So we've got to look out for these mid-game team fights, which seems to be where NIP are most confident, and they're already fishing for them. With the dragon spawn, it's immediately started up, and if EDG don't start looking at these dragons now, or at least with the next one, NIP could very quickly snowball their objectives into the point where EDG have no choice but to take a disadvantaged team fight.
Yeah, it's definitely at least something to tip your hat to right now for NIP. The fact that they are staying in this game with those dragons. Obviously, it would have been a little bit nicer had they been able to take some Void Grubs along with it, but they are on a pretty early soul pathway here if they do really want to go in that direction. It's Mountain Soul as well, which I think is super helpful for this comp, centered around a Leona and a Pantheon that need to go in. Overall, Parukia right now in some danger.
But flashing on Parukia, he finds him. Grenstar falls in as well. Guwon wants the stun, is going to get it, managing to hit that max range, and Parukia will fall. That is the second time that Guwon ults specifically to bully the support, but if he keeps doing it, it's going to turn into gold.
Yeah, I mean, gold is gold. Like, you'll take anyone at this point in terms of being able to get resources back, especially because they're going on Assum. The trade, Leave!
Leave is confident, but Leave gets pushed back. Zhuo may be able to take him down. Cleanse comes out, but Leave is an auto away from death. Assum wants that kill, but he steps up right next to the Ornn who's just come in. ZDZ does not hit the knockup. Xiaohao is down here. ZDZ still looking for Assum. 1 HP on this Tristana. Can anyone touch him? Xiaohao cannot. Angel is here a little bit too late. NIP, they lose nothing, but they pick up Leave, who goes for the style points.
The style points against a Tristana who can just ult you away. It's a very confusing play from Leave. I don't know if he just forgot what Tristana's kit was or just didn't really think he That wasn't any danger, but that's not a play that I would really advise for anyone, and Assum's lead actually continues to start growing more and more. He gets back into the winning column in terms of the gold difference, and yes, EDG have made a lot of really nice plays on the map, but they're making the mistakes that kind of cost them their big lead in game number 1 as well.
It is around a skirmish this time. We'll take a look back at it. Leave going for the ill-advised trade.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no reason to go for this. Again, Assum has that ult available. There's no way you're ever going to be able to take down a Tristana in this particular instance. The only way this ever turns is if ZDZ is able to kill with this ultimate, but unfortunately for him, Assum lives on how much? 8 HP, as we see in the bottom left of your screen. Xiaohao is even here to try and clean something up. He uses ultimate. He's nowhere near the Tristana. It's just a complete waste of resources here for EDG. And now Cyclone is down. Leave's ultimate is down. ZDZ's ult and TP are down. That's so many things burned for nothing.
Darn. Guwon really... He hoped he got him, but he didn't get him. Nico's still a little bit tricksy, and you can see why Guwon's ulting on him all the time. It's just annoying. It's annoying to play against Nico. That's how it is. 2 minutes left on the next dragon spawn, so we still got plenty of time for that, which is going to leave us with most summoners back up. I think the exception is going to be Assum's Flash, unavailable, but with a rocket jump, Assum can make it work.
Anything can happen in these fights. I'm certainly not looking at Ninjas in Pyjamas comp with 2 dragons right now and saying that they have no tools to be able to win. I certainly still think EDG are in a good position to be able to continue to push forward, but a lot of that gold lead right now is on their mid-jungle duo, and they need to make sure they can synergize and link up together to make those plays happen. You cannot have a desynced Cyclone Shockwave combo. They have to play together right now.
And ZDZ clears out the bot wave. Focus is going to be on mid-prio, and
Panthal.
apparently on Assum, who is again just jumping forward, this time onto Leave. The Grand Starfall does not connect by Guwon this time around, but it is just 1 second before the Rift Herald spawns, which puts them in the perfect position to start that objective if they can get some lane priority. They just got it in mid lane, but top, they've got nothing.
I mean, there really isn't a lot to play for here. You want to do that to try and prioritize that Rift Herald, but again, there's no real way that you can control the zone because the Orianna and the Wukong are on the top side of the map, so you can't actually pressure them out here. Rift Herald should be pretty free for EDG to take to continue their lead, and you know, as much as we can criticize EDG for not utilizing their resources perfectly, NIP also not exactly taking their macro advantage that they should have from that Pantheon and utilizing it well.
Yeah, a few plates going to go Hoya's way in the bot side, which can't hurt, but ZDZ's got teleport up, as does Angel, so the tower itself safe, even as ZDZ walks down. Does not even teleport for it. That is Rift Herald for little to no cost going to EDG.
You never love to say that about an objective. Little to no cost is always a scary statement for teams that want to try and win, but unfortunately for NIP, there's just no way to contest that. For now, EDG are going to control the river. They're going to control the game. You need to try and find these picks. Assum is incredibly strong, but very susceptible if we see more aggression coming in from Xiaohao, as we saw there.
And as the dragon comes up, I will remind everyone Assum's flash is not up, nor is the rocket jump that he just used, so he can't step forward even as EDG try and take a bite out of his support. Once again, ZDZ has roamed up, proactively separating himself from the lane, but putting himself in perfect position to start this dragon up. Hoya's still bot side, still farming, completed Leandry's on this rumble, and we haven't seen a team fight equalizer just yet. They need one now. NIP,
here we go.
Look for the engaged. Solar Flare is completely wide, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a complete miss, and this dragon is getting bursted down. You have to fight here.
Equalizer goes down. Dragon going to be secured by Xiaohao, who flashes out, but the fight going EDG's way as well has taken NIP by surprise.
Care?
Hoya turns things around and is cooking them, but Care flashing away with Hoya, who gets knocked up immediately. Still has Assum in the mid lane, who cannot engage the fight. EDG, they get the dragon and they get the team fight win.
Yeah, it's a really huge win for EDG. If things were hard before, they are much more difficult now in terms of how things are breaking down. This Rift Herald is going to crash into the mid lane, get even more plates for Angel on this Orianna, which is the perfect target for that. And, of course, stopping the dragon stacking from Ninjas in Pyjamas, which is their win condition. It's a big, big, big fight win for EDG. We'll see how this starts. I have no clue what was happening here. Parukia just breaks Zhuo's ankles. There's no real other way to talk about it. It's an ill-advised ult anyways going down onto the Nico, but once this Rumble ult gets dropped, they actually have very little damage to consistently put out. Parukia is able to lock down 3 members of the enemy team, including Assum, who is the main damage dealer. Guwon gets bursted, and the fight is basically over from here. Some big heroics coming in from Care and Hoya in terms of the Flame and, I guess, Shuriken combo that you want to put out with these 2 solo laners is nice, but it's definitely not enough to overcome what was a big disadvantage at the start of this fight. And EDG took a lead that was pretty nice and turned it into a very, very solid one.
And NIP's team fighting that had been the point of praise for this roster, and I would say still is largely, does get dismantled in that moment as they're forced to use their cooldowns in super disjointed way. Solar Flare hits absolutely nobody, as you rightly mentioned. Parukia dodging that with the flash is fantastic, but it means that Equalizer has no guaranteed targets, and Xiaohao is able to step maybe two steps to the left and completely avoid the damage while still taking on the dragon. It's a really rough spot for Hoya to be in as well, since he had come in with the Leandries and a full ultimate and got nothing for it.
Yeah, it's just so many things that need to go a bit better. Assum also getting caught by the Nico ultimate was a huge, huge problem for the team because he had to rocket jump out immediately from the fight. There were a lot of things that could have gone right for them there. Still ends up only being a 3 for 2, all things considered. But as we look towards the future, about 45 seconds now on that Baron potentially coming up onto the map as Angel continues to pressure out. As much as we talk about a 2.2k gold lead for EDG on the blue side, look at the bottom of your screen. It is all on 2 players. It is Xiaohao and it is Angel that need to step up and continue carrying for EDG.
Yeah, Assum still feeling very comfortable as well. Grand Starfall, surprise, surprise, it's right on top of Leave. The problem, however, is that Guwon is not in a good spot. He's nowhere right now, and likely means he is going down. Xiaohao is going to expend the second turn of the Cyclone to take him out, and that play comes up donuts.
You know, we were like, oh, Guwon, he gets a chance to showcase what he can look like on a champion with more agency that potentially isn't just like a point-and-click teamfight engaged champ. I don't know, man. Maybe we go back to the teamfight engaged champ as we see what happens here. It's unfortunate. Leaf just gets hit by the Leona ultimate and just gets bursted down and killed. You know, not an ideal circumstance for Leaf. Certainly not something that's out of what we expect from him, but overall, just some chaos across the map.
Somebody take away that man's agency. Somebody put him back on Malphite. Assum looking for the kill on Angel. Actually almost gets it. This is a 2-item Tristana and not to be messed with. Hoya's shown up as well. Equalizer into. They actually could still finish this kill, but Angel manages to avoid a lot of the vision. Hoya's still looking for him. Equalizer going to be laid out for Xiaohao, however. Parukia is coming in. Pop Blossom does only hit Hoya, but there is a CC train coming for you, and Hoya gets taken down. Assum now desperately trying to disengage, and NIP over Chase in a huge way.
Yeah, what was that? What are we doing? Why are we committing so many resources to the top side here to try and kill an Orianna that is absolutely out of here? It's a desperation play from a team that is still kind of in this game, but just very much not in a perfect position. It's just so unfortunate for NIP that they continue to make these mid-game mistakes. You generate a 1-0 series lead and then come back with this. It's very frustrating. Hopefully, they can start to figure some things out. For EDG, it's a great collapse, and I want to give a lot of credit to Parukia, who I think has been generally good throughout this game. Obviously, the Nico has had some nice ultimates, also had some moments dying in multiple different areas, as we saw in that picture-in-picture. But for now, it's Leave taking the mid lane turret. It's a 5k gold lead, and everything's kind of coming up EDG right now.
Yeah, the team fights looking pretty darn good for EDG, and Xiaohao being 3-0 on the Wukong is certainly helping that. You've got a lot of CC, but you've also got a lot of damage coming with that, and not even Assum has been safe, being forced to rocket jump before fights quite frequently.
Yeah, and it's such a big cooldown. EDG now once again controlling the area. Dragon has been started. And IP really have to start fighting these. These fights do not get easier as the game progresses if they continue to sacrifice these objectives.
Again, this time no flash for Assum. Worrying, but acceptable. Eclipse is going to help a lot as the second dragon goes over to EDG and NIP. They want to pick the fight. They don't want to pick the fight. They halfway pick the fight. And EDG walk away with dragon and 2 kills to boot. I've seen this story before.
I mean, they're just on completely different pages right now. Kara is going in without any of the rest of his team. Zhuo was chunked out before the fight even starts, and Baron is on the map. It's not just Dragon that is available. They got the jungler. They might as well get the Worm too.
Got no equalizer to stop this or even harass it either. It is going to be a Baron going over on top of the 6.3k gold lead. This will likely extend it up to 8 by the time that EDG are done with it. In fact, we're almost there to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it is terrifying just how big the lead has gotten, and Assum seeing that firsthand right now. He is going to do some damage to ZDZ. He's still in an okay spot from an individual standpoint, still deathless on the Tristana throughout this game, but it just doesn't look like it's going to matter. We'll see how this setup ends up going. EDG just have full control of the area. Zhuo is already taking so much damage. Once again, one of the worst Leona ultimates that you will see. It's a great ultimate from Parukia to defend against Kare's engage. He's had some phenomenal pop blossoms on the back foot throughout this game. Not something you often see out of a Nico, but at this point, there's no real way that they can throw this. Guwon is in there by himself, and Leave is basically untouched. You have so much damage coming through on the Orianna and Kai'Sa combo that they're able to clean up, grab the Baron, and continue to push this game forward. For NIP, really the only way to be able to come back from this is to find some miracle picks, but you're going to need multiple.
3.2k gold separating Kara and Angel. The man is a monster, and the same can be said for Xiaohao, who's even extended that lead a little further by 200 over his lane opponent. Walking through basically the core of this composition is next to impossible. Wukong and Orianna are the things that define EDG right now, and it is looking extremely good for them as they take down the top lane tier 2 and look to crack open the base. Angel's able to put that pressure on all by himself, while Care is just trying to find a little bit of gold here and there. Assum gets pop blossomed. It's the third CC to hit him in the last 2 seconds. Leave tries to take a bit of an engage and might still go down to Guwon, but flashes over the wall as Care follows him up and takes out the kill. It's actually not a terrible fight right now, 1 for 1.
Yeah, definitely could have been worse. I thought that was going to be worse for a majority of that fight. They find the pick onto Assum, and then they find the re-engage here. Could even be more. Angel's still here.
Here. Why Angel is here? I don't know. But here he is. And there he'll go, you have to imagine. Every flash from Angel? Hold on! He's a legend. Angel gets out. Now EDG are here, and they can absolutely fight this. Parukia just playing backline right now, enabling the 2 bruisers. I'm going to call Orin a bruiser. Double kill ends up going their way, and Xiaohao extending this to 6-0, likely 7-0, as Care has absolutely nowhere to go. Last hit will do it. 7-0 for Xiaohao on the monkey, and Angel teleports right back in to finish what he started.
My man Xiaohao and his boy Angel stepped up here in this game. 4k apiece for them in terms of their lead over their opposition. What a bounce back in game 2 from a team that needed to show a ton more than they did in game 1. This went just about as well as you could have hoped.
Yeah, Zhuo's got nothing he can do here. It is an easy game to finish, and Assum does correctly buffer the rocket jump, but that has been far from the most important thing this game. NIP fell apart at the seams in game number 2, and EDG, they keep the series alive, moving us to game 3.
A big game 3 coming in, and it really wouldn't be a Ninjas in Pyjamas series without a game 3. Just the way we're built right now. That's just how you gotta do it if you're an NIP faithful fan down in chat. But what a great bounce back from EDG. That game kind of looked pretty bad for a bit. Assum was starting to generate some gold on the Tristana. EDG, even with their early game lead, was starting to make some mistakes, but it doesn't really matter. They're able to bounce back. They're able to corral themselves around some major objectives and win the fights they needed to.
Yeah, it was a really good comeback from EDG around the mid-game is what I'm going to call it. Just finding a few critical kills when they needed to, but importantly, knowing when they could turn that into team fights around the Dragons. They also did it around the Rift Herald early on, just going, hey, this is where we're strong, this is where we have a numbers advantage. Despite the fact that NIP have played a good early game, we can win this. And I think... No, I don't think. I know ZDZ actually a really big part of that. I really want to praise the way that ZDZ was playing in the early game. Again, not super flashy, but his positioning, the fact that he was so willing to roam on Ornn away from the Rumble lane, gave his team a numbers advantage more often than not.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about in draft when I was really praising what EDG constructed on their first pick side, where it's just so difficult to break through this Ornn if he can find agency in this lane. It's a good answer to Rumble as long as the Rumble player is not completely accelerated in the early game, which obviously Hoya was not in this particular instance, but you got to give credit to ZDZ where it's due. I don't think he's been the most valuable member of EDG over the course of this year. He's had a couple of bad games, especially against NIP the first time these two teams played, but he was stepping up here today. Was a super, super important piece on why that team ended up succeeding.
Yeah, I mean, great play from him, again, especially in the early mid-game section where that impact was really felt as everyone was very spread out. And you gotta love what Angel and Xiaohao were able to give us in the later stages of the game as well. Finishing that game deathless was Xiaohao, and a fantastic look from him. Angel as well, just chef's kiss on the Orianna, especially that last escape and teleport back in.
Yeah, I mean, Angel was awesome in this game. This is the first time this year where it's really felt like he's been able to step up against NIP. I don't like calling out, unfortunate stats, but Guwon and Care both doing about the same damage as Parukia on the Nico on the other side of it. Not a good look for a Pantheon Akali duo that really needed to be aggressive, but a lot of that has to be given in credit to Angel and Xiaohao. Let's remember the first blood in the mid lane that he really, spent that flash to acquire and step up. Leave made some mistakes here. Assum was kind of let into the game by a couple of aggressive decisions coming down onto the bot side. But overall, I think EDG played this super clean, and you're absolutely right. Their mid-jungle duo was entirely on point here in game number 2.
And in contrast to game 1, where we were really praising the ability of Care to play quite well on the Ahri, this was such an uncomfortable matchup for him. At all stages in the game, Care actually did quite well in the early game to stay even with the Orianna, but once it came to actually making use of the Akali across the map, he sidelaned.
You got it. That checklist done. There's nothing else to add. That's his job, right? He's a Akali. Why would he ever do damage? That's not part of the job description. Obviously, there are some fights like this one where I think he has a good angle and he's looking for something unique and creative, but Parukia just does a phenomenal job of just turning the engage and immediately bursting down the Akali. It just makes life so difficult for him as a mid laner to find these consistent ways to get in. But all of that is built upon the fact that the middle of the map was constantly forward. This is a play that is so absurd in nature where an Orianna is pushed up by herself, forces her teammates to TP in, and somehow Angel gets out of here perfectly fine. ZDC with the peel, and the rest of the team, the cavalry comes and salvages this play. This is not that knock-up absurdly good from ZDZ. And just completely saves Angel, ends the game. Great stuff overall from EDG.
That's like a max range flash as well. I would not have bet on myself to flash that wall. I would have died in that situation, 100%. And it is the play that ultimately gives EDG the victory here. They're not able to clean up even a single kill. Parukia getting out of that as well. You praised Parukia in the mid game, just great way to shut down Care, but often was also catching a lot of other members in that as well. From team fight to team fight, we saw some really critical pop blossoms, and he was showing decent lane presence with his ability to roam and scout out, harass people throughout the entirety of the game. We saw some really good shape splitters forcing Zhuo out of cover before Leona would have ideally liked to be.
Yeah, I really think Parukia is starting to show some of that awesome tape that he had at the end of last year, that fantastic showcase of playmaking ability that he had at the end of last year. But Angel's going to be the player to get player of the game. Certainly can't be mad at this. I might be a little biased and go in the Xiaohao direction, but absolutely Angel deserved this. He was incredible in the 1v1 mid lane and had probably his best game of the year in this one.
If it was game 1, I'd give it to Xiaohao. It's game 2. It's Angel time, and yeah, very, very well deserved, especially for the escape at the end, which was really clean, but all of the moments up until that as well, we saw some really good play out of Angel, really confident on the Orianna, and the fact that he goes deathless, really praising his positioning as well. The lane priority, flawless. A lot of good things to say about Angel. The one bad thing, He won't be playing Oriana again next game as Fearless Draft. It do what it do. We have one game left between these two teams. We're both fighting for a top 2 spot in their group. How will Group Perseverance end up shaping up after this series? We will find